Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees, starting with you, Mo. Thank you for your generous contribution, and your comment there reads, "Hi Tinto, not sure about spelling." You got it right. Thank you for your podcast. I can relate to so many stories. Hope one day I get an interview with you. Mo, if you're listening to this episode, I'm ready for your story when you are. Next up, I've got Ayo Ayula. Man, if I think this is who I think it is, I am so chuffed. I got me 3 coffees, and your comment there reads, "Been listening to your podcast and you don't know how much you are affecting and shaping lives." Hey man, thank you for the encouragement. Appreciate it. Then I got Adri Dre, I think. Gave me a coffee because I was feeling a bit down and I didn't have the energy. And your comment there reads, "Now you can edit that episode." Yes, thanks. I edited and now it's ready. Then last but not least, I got Maranatha, and your comment there reads, "Along with your 5 coffees." Ooh, thank you so much. Your comment there reads, "I finally caught up on all the episodes, and what a journey I've had. Can't get enough of these stories. Hope to be here as the storyteller one day. Great podcast." Well, Maranatha and Mo, I'm ready for you guys both if you're ready to share your stories. If you'd like to support the podcast in a similar way, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feelingstation and give us your spirit leads. Remember, there is nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. With that out of the way, let's get into this weekend's episode. And I really don't know how to describe this disclaimer. I guess all I can say is, if there's issues that relate to grooming, and if there's any issues that relate to a threat of violence, then I discourage you from listening to this episode. Skip it and then maybe wait for the one coming next week.
Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here. On the Feeling Station.
What's up?
How are you?
Good. Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here today.
For those listening to the podcast for the first time, it's a romantic family and friendship breakup podcast showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give them lessons from, the experiences. I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. And the podcast is popular for 2 main reasons. The first being, I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part. Are you ready for this, my friend?
Yes, I am.
Right. So I'm giving you a name that you're going to use for the duration of this episode from Egypt. And I really don't know how this is pronounced, but my Zimbabwean side has taken over the pronunciation of this word. Right? The name is Chisisi, which is Chissisi, which in Shona means Chisisi, which means young girl,
Okay.
Well, so I don't know if that's how it's said, but it's spelled Chisisi, and that actually means secret.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know whether there are any secrets that are going to come out of this episode or what.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, good. So I don't know how you want to remember that name. You could either call yourself Chisisi, call yourself Chi, call yourself Sisi, whatever it is you're comfortable with. That's your name.
Okay, I'm gonna call myself.
All right. Chi, cool.
Yeah.
And what are you calling the name of the person you're talking about today?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this one. So I'm going to call him the Nug. Nug.
The what?
The Nug. Nug.
Okay.
Coming from the word narcissist.
Ah! Wow! The Nug, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow! Okay. I can already see how this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to call you.
So the episode is about Chisisi and the Nug. And the second reason why people really like this podcast is there are real life lessons that they're going to learn from your experience. So what lessons do you have for us?
Okay, so they're not a lot. It's just about 4 lessons. So the first one is, just always make the right decision. No matter how hard it is, always make the right decisions. And in as much as it can be tempting to go for the bad decisions, just do the right thing. It's good for you. It's good for everyone. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. Got a second one?
The second one is prioritize yourself, value yourself. You know, you should.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you want people to find value in you, you have to also find value in yourself. So
100%.
yeah, and then allow yourself to feel the pain. You know, to hurt, to feel. You know, that breakup. allow yourself to allow
Allow yourself to
yourself.
feel it. It's not
Yes,
nice, though. It's
it's
not
nice,
nice.
but you should allow yourself to go through it. You know,
Yay.
that process. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last one is just, you know, run away. If you noticed the red flags, just run away. That instant.
Why
Don't
did I have a feeling
hesitate.
this had to do with red flags? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
just run at that instant.
I'm always tempted to call this the red flag podcast
You should.
because I can count the number of lessons that did not have red flags in them.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so let me play those lessons back. Number one, always make the right decisions, no matter how hard it is. It's good for you. It's good for everyone. Lesson number two, prioritize yourself, value yourself. Number three, allow yourself to feel the pain, feel the hurt, feel the breakup.
Yes.
And then number four, run away if you notice the red flags.
Yes.
Right, now let's get straight into it. Chi, where did you meet the knock and why did you feel, yeah, okay, I'll give him a chance?
Okay, so this has a really, you know, quite long background story, but I'm gonna cut it short. So, I was 16. I was 16 and I just finished my O levels, and I had to go to stay with my grandmother because my mom had passed away when I was like Form 3, and my grandmother wanted to spend some time with me. I didn't want to go, but I had to. You know how Zimbabwe is.
Yeah.
So I go, and you know, I'm new and I don't know anyone, and I'm in this area. It's different from where I'm from because I'm used to the uptown. I'm going to the downtown now. So I go there and I start dating this guy. This is after a few weeks. I start dating this guy. He's not the narc, by the way, and but he leads me to meeting the narc. So.
Okay.
And then, you know, fast forward, I'm naive and I get my virginity broken by this guy. So now I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm like, yo, okay, I just got my virginity broken. I'm 16, and what if I'm HIV positive? I don't even know. I don't know this guy. I've only dated him for like a few weeks. So I decide, okay, let me go to a pharmacy. And there was a pharmacy nearby where I was staying. And I'm entering into the pharmacy and I'm hoping it's a male because, you know, females are a bit judgmental. So I said this
Right.
guy, he's handsome, he's nice, he's cute and all that. And he's looking at me as well. So I'm smiling, all goofy and all that. And he's like, hi, how can I help you? I'm like, okay, I want an HIV test, you know? And he looks at me, he's like, how old are you?
Yay.
And then I just, you know, I'm serious and I'm like, I want an HIV test. Then he says, okay, do you want me to take you through the process? Do you want me to do it with you? Then I said, no, of course not. And then he says, okay, fine. So you can get my card. I'm going to show you how to do it. You go and do it by yourself at home. And then you can take my card and call me if anything goes wrong. You know, I'm available at any time. So that's how I met him. He's the narc. So
Out of curiosity, I think he was asking the question about how old you are to see whether maybe there were some safeguarding issues to bring to the attention of authorities, I guess. So imagine, let's say you were 12 years old and you're asking for an HIV test.
yeah,
That would have meant, that somebody under the age of 16 has been abused, which would have, I'm assuming, would have required him to take some action, a duty of care, to make sure that this is not, untoward. So him asking how old you were could have had two things to it. One, to check whether he needed to do anything as a medical professional, or not. So, did you say how old you were to him?
I didn't. I just smelled. I just smelled.
Oh,
I'm old enough. I want an HIV test. I'm old enough.
okay. All
Yeah.
right, cool.
So I take his card and I go home. Coincidentally, the next day, I meet my the boyfriend I had at the time. And he then also coincidentally sees the card. He says, "Why do you have this card? I know this guy." And I'm like, "Oh no, I went yesterday to get an HIV test, and he said if I needed any help, I would just have to reach out." And my boyfriend is like, "What? You know, this guy, he's rich and he's one of those, cougars and stuff, sugar daddies or whatever. So don't be hanging
Yeah.
around people like that and whatever." And he got angry and started ranting about how I'm now trying to be in the big leagues or whatever. I'm like, you know what, it's fine. Let me throw the card away. So I threw it away. And then after throwing it away, a few weeks later, I had a fight with my grandmother. I was quite rebellious at the time, by the way. So I had a fight with my grandmother, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay with my friend. Don't look for me, you know. So I go and stay with my friend, this girl. And
Hold on. What was your fight with your grandma about?
it was about how you know how when you're a teenager, you feel like you're right every time. So she
Uh
was
huh.
like, you can't be, well, it was mostly about doing work because I wasn't used to that lifestyle of doing work. My mom never taught me all of that. So she's like, "You're doing everything wrong and you don't want to go to church. You need to pray and all everything." And I was sort of against her church. I was used to my church, the one I was used to going to. So, it was really the petty things. But as a teenager, you always feel like, you know what, everyone's against me. And I'm like, I'm going.
Right.
Yeah, right. And she's like, "Okay, fine, go. We'll see where you land." So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
go and stay with my best friend. She is a few years older than me, actually. And then she's like, "You know what? You can come and stay with me for the meantime until you sort things out with your grandmother." And then I go and stay with her for a few weeks. Unfortunately, my head started hurting a lot. And because of the stress and I was overthinking and everything, I was just so sick. I don't know what was wrong with me. So I'm like, I don't have any money. What am I going to do? I can't even go to the doctors because if I'm just used to being taken care of. So I then decided to tell my friend about it. Then she says, "You know what, let's go to a pharmacy, the nearby pharmacy, the one I went to before." And then I went and I saw the guy again. He was there.
Chi, relax. Of all the pharmacies in Harare.
No. Number one, it was not in Harare. Number two, this is a ghetto area. This is the nearest pharmacy, walkable distance. So we went there because it was the
In the
nearest
whole
pharmacy.
area, that's the only one. That's the nearest one.
It's the nearest pharmacy and it's the only one in that area.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
All right.
went to the pharmacy and we see this guy. And I remember, oh my gosh, this guy gave me his card, but I lost it. I threw it in the bin. And he smiles. He's like, "Okay, what's wrong today?" Then I'm like, "I have a headache. I don't know where it's coming from, and my body's just feeling weak and everything." Then he smiles. Then he says, "Okay, fine. I'm gonna give you a few pills, and then I'm gonna check you for high blood pressure, whether your BP is high or it's low." And then he checks my blood pressure. He then frowns. He's like, your BP is a bit low, and for your age, you're young and you shouldn't be having such a low BP. What's going on? Are you okay?" And I couldn't help but break down.
Mm.
I broke down, and then he's like, "You know what? Everything's gonna be fine." Then now we're laughing, and he says, "Well, I gave you my card. Where did you put it?" And then I'm like, funny story. I don't have the card anymore, but give me another card and then I'll contact you. Then he says, fine. Then he gives me his card. And this time he didn't just give me his card. He then also takes my number.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we actually started communicating. He would check up on me. And then, yeah, his charisma, honestly, to answer your question, he was just one of those. He knew what to say at the right time, how to make you feel, and everything. So that's how I met him, officially meeting him. Yeah.
Okay. So how did things progress?
Um. So after talking for a few weeks and having these getting to know each other conversations, and then he just called me one day and he's like, "I'm going to work in a different city." So he would travel to and from that. Can I give the name of the city?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so he would travel from Chinoi to Jishawane, to and from. And so yeah, he's like, "I'm going to work. Would you want to come to work with me?"
And he would travel to those two towns because what, he had a pharmacy in both?
He was a pharmacist at those towns.
Okay, fine.
I think he
Yeah.
was working as a pharmacist at those times or something. I'm not exactly sure, but he would travel maybe like 2 times in a month for a week or so. Yeah. So
Okay.
he
Cool.
says, "Do you want to come with me?" And I'm like, "Okay, number one, I haven't met you properly. Like, I don't know you properly, so I don't know if I should come with you." But then I'm like, you know what if I die the next day and I'm not living my life? So I'm like, sure, we can go. And then he's like, "Okay, so I'll call you after a few hours and I'll tell you the arrangements and the plan and everything." Then he calls after a few hours. He says, "Okay, so I can't go today, but we'll go next time." And then after a few weeks as well, we were on a call because all this while we're just talking on the phone, chatting on the phone, WhatsApp and everything. So he then calls and I'm like, "What are you doing? How are you and everything?" He's like, "I'm at work in Shishawani." And I'm like, "Oh, the last time you said you were gonna call me and you didn't." And then he says, "You know what? Do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Why not?" And he says, "Fine, then get on the bus and come tomorrow."
Right.
Dude, I'm like 16 at this age and I'm back at my grandmother's house. So he's like, "You come tomorrow morning, I will I'll give you back your bus pay. Just use the money that you have." And I did have some money that I had saved up from my pocket money. So he's like, I wake up the next day and I tell my grandmother, I got a job and I'm going
Wow.
to, Shishawane to see whether it's fit for me or not. My grandmother, being
And
old and all that, she's just like, "Yo, okay, fine."
and you lied about this because you knew she would say no. She knew you were going to go see a boy.
Obviously, she would say no. So
Right.
I then travel in the morning, and he says, "I'll meet you in Gweru. I'll pick you up from there." And for sure, he did pick me up. And now we're having a face-to-face meeting that we like in a non-professional zone. And he says, "You're very beautiful." I'm like, no one has ever told me that before. And then I'm like, okay. And I then asked the question. Honestly, I just wanted to ask the question, "Are you married?" And then, the response was enough to make me just run away, but I didn't.
What did he say?
He says, "I'm not going to lie, I'm happily married." And, I was like, "Okay, you're not going to lie, you're happily married, but you're with me right now. So if you're happy, what are you doing with me right now?" And then I'm like, "Okay, you're married, number one. Number two, how old are you?" Because I had not asked him how old he was. I was scared to ask. And
Right.
he says, "I'm 35.
Wow. The
Right.
guy is literally twice your age.
Yeah, old enough to be my dad.
Yeah.
So he's like, "I'm 35. And then there was a sort of like silence that was there. And I'm like, you know what? Being with people my age, men my age, is not getting me anyway. So me just try this out and see how it goes. So the conversation.
What do you mean being with men your age hadn't got you anywhere? You were 16. In fact, boys, what boys that you dated at the time? It was the guy who you went and got tested for. Who, by the way, what did you say to him you were going to Rishawane for?
Oh no, we had broken up at that time. I didn't even want him anymore. He was just...
Okay. You glossed over that very quickly. I guess it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, because he was not really my type. He was more of, I'm just here for a while. I'm visiting my grandmother. I don't really want to be here, so that's why I'm here. I didn't really feel that guy that much.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was, he just seemed like he didn't care even about his future. His conversations were just a bit too whack for me. So I was just like, you know what? No, I'm done with this.
So why did you allow him to take your virginity if you are so insignificant and so unattractive and so unappealing?
Because at the time, really, I was going through a lot, and he was convenient at the time. He was there at the time. And really, everybody goes through a phase where they're just naive. And I know it sounds really crazy, me saying this. He said, if you love me, you're going to do it. And as a way to prove a point, I just did it, But yeah, he didn't really mean much, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you broke up with him, you're now with this guy. So what drew me here was your comment to say that, men your age hadn't really got you anywhere. How many other guys that you dated at this point for you to be so confident this man would get you somewhere?
When I was in high school, I had just finished high school, by the way. I had just finished my O-levels. I was dating a guy who was 2 years older than me before the guy who broke my virginity. And he said, we're okay until I finished my O-levels. And I passed my O-levels. He failed his A-levels. He said, right, I can't be with you because you can't give me what I want. And I asked him, what exactly do you want that I can't give you? I've been there, I'm with you, and, we see each other from time to time. He says, I want to be sexually intimate. And I said, I can't. So he says, if you can't give me that, then we have to break up.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that was, the other reason why I had to then give in to the second guy, because I was like, the last time a guy broke up with me because I was not sexually intimate with him. So maybe if I am sexually intimate, he will see me, Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I get that now.
Mm-hmm.
With a bit more context. Okay, so the boys your age hadn't got you anywhere. And you're like, let me try this guy who's not my age and maybe he'll get me somewhere.
Yeah, I did.
Bearing in mind, he can only get you so far because he's already married to somebody else. So He's not going to give you much either anyway. So I know you want to use that as an argument and as a basis, but he really can't give you much.
He can't, exactly. That's where the lesson then comes, Always make the right decisions. No matter how tempting it feels, always make the right decisions. But I made the bad decision at the time. I should have said no. I should have gone back or something, but I didn't. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we travel to Shishawane, we get there, and he's renting a nice place, very nice place. And we get there, and he's like, so I'm nervous. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. 35, I'm 16. What am I supposed to be doing? And he did ask me my age. Before you ask, he did ask me how old I was, and I lied. I told him I was 18.
Why did you lie?
Because I knew if I told him I was 16, he wasn't going to entertain me. He wasn't going to stay with me. I just knew he would be like, no, I can't. I can't be with a 16-year-old.
Did you say you told him your age when you asked for the HIV test?
No, I didn't. I didn't tell him. I just smiled and I said I'm old.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. You did say. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right.
So I tell him I'm 18 and he says, okay, you look young. Like, I know. I get that a lot. So I don't know what to do at this guy's house, and I'm quite nervous about everything. But really, the whole night turns out to be something I had never experienced, honestly. And I'm not gonna lie, at a very young age, at that age, obviously some of these things will be surprising. You don't know what to do, but you haven't experienced much, but now you're experiencing the much, so you want more and more of it.
So what happened?
We were sexually intimate that night, and it was something else. Yeah. And we had a striking conversation. He says, I want to warn you before we start this thing. Women get obsessed with me.
Rah.
Yeah. He said that. I remember him saying that. He says women get obsessed with me. And I'm like, what? Nah, I'm good. Don't worry about it.
That's a loaded statement, though, isn't it?
It is.
When you think about it, because he says, yeah, I have a wife. I've told you I have a wife.
Mm-hmm.
But then forget the wife. Women other than you get obsessed with me. So it's more than you that either I am doing stuff with or have done stuff with.
Yeah, but I didn't think about that.
That's what that is saying.
Yeah.
Did he bring the protection you used, or you brought the protection you used?
No, he did. He brought the protection. He even bought an HIV test, another one.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the other reason why I was like, okay, he's careful. He's he's straight. He wants things to be done the right way. That's good. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So this was us for the whole week. Just me having sex with this guy the whole week. Him coming from work, buying me what I want. If I say I want this, I'm getting it. If I say I want this, I'm getting it. I was not used to that. I was not used to a guy asking me what I want to eat, taking me out on dates. I'm like, okay, fine, you're married, but you're taking me out on dates and it's public and everyone can see us. So I kind of liked it. And it was an experience that I had never had at all. And it was, I was like, you know what, fine. Then I'm into this. I'm getting into this. Let's see where it lands me. And we go back, we travel back. I'm thinking, what if he starts changing when we travel back? But he didn't. He didn't change. He would constantly check up on me. He would make sure I have everything that I need. But I did notice a trend. He would call me at like around 6 a.m. in the morning when he's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would call me after work when he's going back home. That was after 6, after 7 in the evening.
Right.
He would call me around those times. Those were his times. So I knew he would call at this time, he would call at this time. And then would also communicate online on WhatsApp and everything. But the communication was good. It was nice. It was not... I couldn't complain about it because, for a married man, he gave me the attention that I wanted, And so one of the days when I was dating him, he wanted to meet me. And, probably it was because his sex drive was a bit high or whatever. So he says, he has a lot of properties around. Very rich guy. A lot of properties around. So he says, we're going to one of my houses and we'll meet there. And I'm shocked because one of his houses was like next door to a place where my friend used to stay. One of my friends used to stay. And I'm like, what exactly do you do? Then he says, I own a lot of properties. I rent out my properties to students and all that. So, it's off season, students are not around. So that's why I brought you here. And I'm kind of turned off because I'm like, but I thought we were going to a nicer place, somewhere not like this area environment. Then he says, I can't do that because you know how small this town is and people know me. I can't be seen at a lodge or at a hotel or whatever because people know me. And the town is small, and that's for sure. That is for sure. People would know him as one of the most influential and rich people around the place. People would know him. So he says this is where we'll be meeting. If we're not in Peshawar, we're here. We're meeting around these places. So then he's like, so don't worry. Even if I'm to impregnate you, or if if anything is to happen, you're safe because you're secure. Financially, you're secure. You're okay. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So now
Wait a minute. You're just saying this as if it was a matter of fact. Okay, you've given me this information. Cool, I've accepted it. Let's keep it moving.
at the time I did accept it. I really did
This is
accept it. I'm not gonna lie, I did accept it.
you're still 16, 17. Give me
I was now around 17.
Okay, right.
I was now around 17, and our relationship, it was evolving, you know. He was not nagging because I also didn't like men who nag too much. So he was just good at the time.
Sorry to ask you a question that kind of detracts from this a little bit, but I just want a bit more context because this has just come to my mind. You spoke about the loss of your mum and your dad. What's the situation, or what was the situation at the time?
Oh, he's absent. He's even until now he's absent. He was not present in my life even when I was young. He's not present now. I never really knew him.
Okay.
I'm never really wanted to know him. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Continue.
All right. So now this is after a few months of dating this guy. This is when the problems then start. He then becomes controlling. He wants to know where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing. He wants to know, you know, every single movement that I make. He wants updates. What are you doing? Update me on what you're doing. And really, for me, that was like, you're not my, you know, you're a married man. Why are you so nagging? Because I'm not getting annoyed of the fact that he's married. And he would sometimes we would have conversations where he would then start talking about his wife. He's like, you know, he would say, I want to say it in Shona because I really want to emphasize how he would say.
Yeah, go for it.
So he would say, Vari could I also kumba, you know, kumba, my guru wako is doing this. I'm like, you know what? I accepted to be your girlfriend, and I accepted knowing that you're a married man, but you can't be talking about your wife whilst I'm there. That's a bit offensive, you know.
Yeah. So for those who are listening and they don't understand Shauna, she just basically said eventually this guy got to the point where he said, "Look, my wife," and then by referring to my guru, that's a relationship structure in which you have the wife, who's normally called the main house, and then you have you, who's called the small house. You know, the girlfriend, the concubine, whatever it is. So he got to a point when he was openly saying now to Chi that my guru, which is my wife, the main house, is kind of frustrating me. She's done this, she's irritated me, she's done that. And you are now basically saying, look, I don't appreciate you talking about her like that to me. Because while she accepted being a girlfriend, you didn't accept to be that person who receives information about her like that. She didn't want to know like that. That's what you're basically saying, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I then tell him that I'm not comfortable with that. And he says, but you accepted. You know I'm married. You accepted this and you have to be straight up with it. You need to be okay with it. I told you about this. I was open to you about this. So you just need to learn to accept it. You know? So he would send me to, sometimes he would even send me to go and buy, like the other time he sent me to go and buy, you know, the coarse salt. And I was asking him, what do you want to use it for? And then he says, oh, my wife wants to cook this.
Okay.
So
right.
that happened. And so I then get fed up of this guy. I'm like, you know what? I can't break up with you because now it's gotten to a point where I really care about you and I really like you. And well, I love you actually. And so I'm just going to open another branch of my own, which is not you.
Okay.
You know, because because now it was getting to a point where he would see me when he wanted to see me. He would, he would call me at different times. We would text, yeah, but when I was asking him the important questions, like, really, what are we doing? He would just deviate from those questions and start a whole other conversation. So I was getting fed up, and I opened another.
Yeah, but what answer were you expecting though?
Well, I was expecting, okay, fine, I'm gonna make you my second wife. That's what I was expecting. To be
So
honest,
you wanted to be a second wife?
I didn't mind. To be honest,
Not just a girlfriend. You wanted to be a second wife?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I then opened another branch, and that same weekend that I had come from seeing my other branch, he then calls.
I like how you're describing this. You say, and I really got to keep context of and track of the age in all of this. So at 17, you then decide I'm okay to be a second wife. I'm not just happy being a girlfriend. And then when that wasn't happening, you get frustrated by that. You decide you want to have another boyfriend. Well, you want to have your boyfriend because right now you're somebody else's girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you meet whoever this other branch is?
Also, this guy, he was just one of those guys in the area. So I knew him. He knew me. We would just say hi. So he would always ask for my number, and I would not give him my number.
You knew him from where? You describe it as if you guys have been friends from way before.
In a ghetto setting, you grow up knowing if Innocent stays 5 houses away, you definitely know that Innocent stays 5 houses away.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a guy from the hood.
He was a guy from the hood, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So he seems nice. He's about 4 years older than me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's 22. He was 4 years older. And he seemed like his future was good. He was doing school. He was, seemed straightforward. Good guy, actually. So, yeah, I started dating him. And unfortunately, then I then go for a weekend with my nag, and my phone now is buzzing with messages from my other branch, and he's saying, why are you not answering my phone calls? Why are you not texting me? What's going on? If I did anything, I'm sorry. And in my brain, I'm like, you need to stop sending all these messages because
you're causing me problems.
You're causing me problems. So I put my phone on silent, and then we're traveling from Gweru to Zishawani, and I really need to use the toilet. And we're not anywhere near a convenience store or anywhere I can get the toilet. So he says, we're just going to have to use the forest.
The bush.
The bush for the toilet.
Right, okay.
I can't carry my phone with me when going to use the toilet. So then I leave my phone on the seat. And when I come back, the guy's attitude has just changed. It's horrible. And I'm just silent. Because honestly, I'm like, if I say something, what if he didn't see anything? And then, So he then asked me, is there anything that I don't give you? I'm like, no, everything's fine. And then he says, do I not try? I say, no, you definitely try. And then he says, you realize that I have a wife? I said, yes, I do know that you have a wife. And he said, so why are you messing around with other men? I tried to deny it, but he seemed adamant on what he was saying. And he says, I opened your phone and there's a guy sending you messages, and this guy shows that he really loves you and you guys have been dating for quite some time now. And I'm trying to explain to him that no, this is just a side nigga. He's not someone I even want to be with. I'm just doing this to push time because you don't give me enough attention. And he's like, no, but so basically you're saying you're a prostitute. That's what he said. You're saying you're a prostitute. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm a prostitute? How can you even refer to me as a prostitute? And he says, what is a prostitute? I'm like, someone who sleeps with men for money. And he says, no, a prostitute is someone who has more than one boyfriend.
Wow.
And I'm like, now I'm crying. Like, how can you call me a prostitute? And all of a sudden, I'm trying to explain to him, you are married. You can't expect me to be putting my whole self towards you. I can't be wasting my time with you. I need to be with someone who has a future, someone who wants to be with me, And he says, who said I don't want to be with you? Who said I don't care about you? The whole reason why we're even together is because I want to be with you. So why are you wasting your time with this other guy? And he starts saying that I don't value myself. He says I'm wasting my time with useless boys. That's what he said. Useless boys. So yeah.
I got one question before you go too far from that. So you've lied to your grandma about where you're going. You've lied to the narc before in terms of your age, 16 versus 18. Now you've just lied about the phone.
Yeah.
What's up with that? What was up with the lies?
Well, I don't know.
Or instead, I'm asking, why did you find it easier to lie than to say the truth?
Because I didn't want to. Well, obviously, with my grandmother, there was absolutely no way I was going to tell her I'm going to see my 35-year-old boyfriend. So lying really seemed like the easiest thing to do. And trust me, it was not easy because I would have loved, deep down, I wanted to tell her, but it was just, it would just cause drama. And as for these two guys, honestly, I think lying just felt like it was easy. So again, like I said before, sometimes it's best to just do the right thing and not turn around, go around the bush or whatever. It's just best to just go straight to the point, do the right thing. You won't land yourself in a pit or something. Yeah, so lying really seemed like the easiest thing to do at the time.
Okay. So you've lied about who this guy is, and now you're explaining who he is because you've been cornered.
Yeah.
But what then happens?
He then says, if you're not lying, if this guy really doesn't mean anything to you, call him right now and break up with him.
Hey.
I could not do that. I could not. I don't know why, but I couldn't do that. So, I couldn't break up with the guy. So he says, if you can't break up with him in front of me, it means this guy is very important. So I then start crying and I'm saying sorry and everything. I'm thinking, this guy, he may be married, he has his flaws, but he has been there for me. So let me just say sorry. Let me not, get my relationship ended because of these lies. So I'm crying and I'm saying sorry, and he then smiles. He's like, you know what, it's okay. I'm like, how are you just saying it's okay? You were just angry just now. How are you just saying it's okay? And he says, no, it's okay. If you don't do it again, it's fine. But from then things just changed. The trust issues raised. He would just always insinuate that I'm with someone. He thought I was with someone every time, and it was just bad. He then, even in terms of the finance, it was not coming in as it used to. It was different. And now he would call me when he wanted to see me. He wouldn't just call me anytime. He would just call me when he wanted to see me. And now I'm now getting to a point where I'm realizing, oh my goodness, fine, I messed up, but I said I'm sorry. But I'm still in this relationship, and this guy is now treating me like I'm nothing. He's now different. His attitude, everything, his character is horrible towards me. But he would not say it. Sometimes I'll tell him, you know what, if you don't want me, just tell me, just break up with me. And he would say, no, I'm not doing that. I like you. I love you, actually. So I'm not leaving you. I'm like, why are you treating me like that? He takes it back to the story of me cheating. So it was now all about him, how he feels. Sometimes he'll just call me and ask me, where are you? What are you doing? And I'll tell him the truth and say, you're lying. And my sixth sense can tell me that you're lying. You're with someone right now. Who are you with? The other time I had to travel to see my mom in my mom's sister in Harare, and he thought I went to see someone. He says, I know you're lying. You went to see someone. My sixth sense always is never wrong. It's always right. But really, I was not doing anything bad. I was actually straight. So I'm now trying to leave this guy. The first time I tried to leave, I tried to break up with him. I failed. I broke up with him, and I didn't last a day. I was back saying I'm sorry.
What was your reason for breaking up with him?
I just told him I can't do this anymore. It's becoming emotionally draining, and he had promised that he was going to do a lot of things for me. He was going to take me to a nice school, a very nice school, because I wanted to go to college at the time. He had promised he was going to take me to a very nice college. He had promised to pay for everything that I wanted to get, and he wasn't doing any of those things. And I said, you know what? You don't prioritize me anymore, so I'm not going to be with you anymore. I don't want this anymore. And he says, we'll see where you get to.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't last a day. I was back saying I'm sorry, and he says, I know you're sorry. I understand.
Wow.
You're back now. That's what's important. So I tried to leave him at that time. It failed. So now this is me. Now it's mentally draining for me because sometimes I'll then overthink. He was now diminishing who I was. He would not see any worth in me. And even when I was having those real conversations with him about my life, like where I wanted to take my life, he would just be like, you're not serious with your life. You can't even do anything with your life. I'm the most important thing in your life right now. And I'm the only person who can help you get to where you want to get to. So you better listen to everything that I tell you. And, it took a toll on me. And I was like, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe I am nothing without him. And I tolerated the disrespect. And so one day he went to Kariba. Because he always told me, I'm going to take you to Kariba, we'll go together. And he went there without me. And I'm like, since when do you go and not tell me where you're going? And he says, oh, I'm with someone. I'm like, who?
I'm with someone?
Yeah, he said it directly, I'm with someone. I'm like, who? And he says, someone, does it matter to you? I'm like, yes, it does. Then he just rants. He starts ranting. He says, you think you're clever. Just because you're young, you're wasting your years being with these other small boys and not being with me. You think you can use me. I'm like, I'm not even doing any of that. I'm at home right now. I'm not doing anything with anyone. He says, you're lying. And I'm like, okay, so if you're with someone, then why are you on the phone with me? He just says, you know what, this relationship that I'm having with this person is the same relationship that I had with you. It's convenient. Shit. I would have been okay if it was his wife, but it wasn't. It was another girl. So I was like, okay, it's fine. It's not a problem. I was hurt, I'm not going to lie, but it is what it is.
So what were you saying? It's fine too. What was
all
fine?
of this, because he would tell me you deserve it. You deserve to be feeling like this.
So when you're saying it's fine, you're saying, yes, I deserve it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yo.
And remember, I'm now about to turn 18. So I'm young, I'm making these reckless decisions. And I have a man in my life who's old enough to be my father, whom I never had in my life, telling me what to do, how to do it. So I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe this is how it goes. This is how it should go. So I'm just listening. And yeah, it was hard. It was difficult. I tried to leave him 3 times in a row. It didn't work. And then now the statement comes to mind. Women are obsessed with me.
Oh.
And I'm trying to understand. Okay. So it's true. Women are obsessed with him. Because honestly, to be honest, I tried to meet other guys, but I would not see them the way I saw this guy. It was always something wrong with the other guy who's not the nut. I would always notice something, And I then just realized, you know what? When am I even going to get into a proper relationship if I keep seeing these other boys or men as bad just because they are not him, you know? Even in terms of the sex, it was I could not get myself into a relationship with anybody else. I could not find myself feeling anything for anybody else. So I was now desperate. That I think I'm just gonna call it desperate, for this guy, the narc. And he's pushing me away. He's calling me when he wants to see me, when he feels he wants to. And I could not put an end to it, to the point where I even tried to then, when this was around when I was 18 and I'm now going to college and I'm now trying to be serious in my life. And then I get into a relationship with a guy who's around my age as well. But I hurt that guy because the knock just came back into my life. And it started again, all over again, It was like alcohol when you try to leave drinking alcohol, but then you see it again and then you have a breakdown and you start drinking
Yeah.
all over again. That was the cycle. That was how it was going. So I was really broken and yeah, it was bad. And I realized I wasted like 3 years of my life with this guy. 3 full years that I could have been with someone. I could have been alone, actually, not in a relationship, but just experiencing life the right way. But I wasted my time being told who I am, how to do things by this guy. And I was now realizing that, you know what, even if I was a woman, I would not want to be treated like this by my husband. I would not want my husband out there cheating with young girls well, he didn't know my exact age, but either way, I would not want my husband out there cheating on me. So this is me now maturing and realizing that I was doing the wrong things, and I'm reflecting on myself, and like self-reflection, you need to get over this guy. Doesn't matter how long it takes, you just need to get over him. So he had a system where he would notice that I'm now ignoring him, and then he would then post a status with his wife and his kid to get my attention. I then realized it was a way to get my attention. And I would then find myself back in his DMs and talking to him again. And he would just come to school where I was, and he would, pick me up, go to Shabane, and it would just be a whole cycle all over again. And then he would drop me off back at school, and he would be like, silent, ghost, not talking to me. He would talk to me when he wanted, how he wanted it to go. So yeah, basically it was just mentally draining for me. It was emotionally draining for me. I would cry sometimes, but I couldn't really talk to it. I couldn't talk about it to anyone because people will ask you. You knew he was married, so why were you staying with this guy? You deserve what you're getting. So I couldn't talk to anyone about it, and my friends were quite envious. They were like, you're with the old guy, big car and everything, financially stable, everything is good. So they would be like, why are you crying about it? I'm like, this is not about the money. It's more about the attention and the treatment that I'm getting. It got to a point where he would threaten to actually, he would put, this is really the emotional part of the whole thing. He would take a gun. He had this gun that he moved around with. So he would put it in between me and him. And he says, do you see this gun? I could use it on you if I wanted to because of all the things that you've been doing. But I'm not going to do that because I believe you're going to change and become a good girl. And I was like, is this guy really like taking out a gun and threatening to use it on me? Is this really happening to me? It was all just, it was more unrealistic to me. I'm like, is this even happening to me? I never saw myself at this point in my life. So that's when I really then decided that I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve any of that treatment. And I decided if I'm not going to be with him, I'm going to be single. I'm not going to be with anyone. And I'm going to teach myself to live without this guy because I can live without him. And
I am dead quiet because I'm in shock. Because this is a different layer. You know, it's one thing to be in an emotionally abusive situation, which you clearly were. And I think you are somewhat verbally abusive too. But then to impart fear like this with a tool that really could distinguish between life and death has just made me extremely uncomfortable.
yeah.
Because now, apart from the love bombing, in terms of gifts and what he would do and say with you, and then it somewhat feels like the grooming that he's already been doing with you and others. That's why I can say people don't get over him so recklessly. To then have that tool is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Because
But
it also now adds to the difficulty you may have had in leaving, because there's real fear, isn't there?
there was, yeah.
Like very real physical fear in the terms of what could happen to your own life.
Yeah. And it was, I just, at the time, I was just thinking, okay, I didn't know he would turn into that. I was giving excuses. I was excusing all of his behavior. I was just telling myself deep down inside that mean person, there's a good person that you met at first that really wants to make things work. So forgive him and, just stay with him. That was me.
What at what point did he start flashing the gun? Is this after he found out about your other branch?
No, this was when I was not. I was in college, and we're far away from each other. There was a bit of a distance from each other now.
Mm,
So when he would come to see me and would go to Shishavani and come back, this was when these conversations would then happen, and he would pull out the gun. It would be these were emotional conversations, and he would then take out the gun. So it really,
okay.
I can't lie. I did love the experience of being with someone who would just be like, okay, here's my card, go buy what you want. It was a nice experience. It was at the time. But when it became emotional and physical, that was not a nice experience.
When you say physical, what did he do?
I then realized that, you know what, there's that um there's a sexual practice where both of you are into this sexual intimate whatever you're doing, but then I realized it was not normal because he would want to be the dominant one in everything. He did not want a woman controlling him in any of the sexual positions that he was doing. He wanted to be in control. He liked the fierce type of sex, that sex where he's choking you or whatever. That was him. That's what he wanted. And this is me now realizing years later that, you know what, no, this is not normal. This is not this is not good. This is not healthy even for me. What if something happens to me during that sexual intimate session and what if I die, you know? So yeah, I then realized I'm laughing about it now because this is something, it took me like 4 years to get over this guy. So I'm laughing about it now because it really took a long time to get over this guy. Yeah, so yeah, that was really my breaking point. And I decided I'm going to give myself to get over this guy. It wasn't easy. I couldn't find interest in other men. I couldn't find the good things in other men, but I had to somehow, someway get over him. So I blocked him on all platforms, and every time I tried to reaching him, because I knew his number by head, So every time I tried reaching him, I'd just tell myself, I'd remind myself of the situations that I've been in with this man.
Mm.
So yeah, and it got to a point where I would not talk to him anymore.
Mm.
And it was really relieving, to be honest, that I was done with this person and it was over. And then I met a very nice guy, a few years older than me, and he was completely different from the treatment that I was getting from this guy. He was kind in a good way. He wanted to do the right things at the right time. Never forced me into having sex with him. Never say he never gave me a threat like, if you don't give me this, then it means you don't love me. He was just right. And he helped me get through it. Because I then told myself, if I'm going to get into a relationship, I'm going to be open. So I was open and I told him the whole thing. And he helped me through it. He really just, he said, I know you're going through a lot and we're not going to go fast. We're going to go slow until you get over this guy, until this guy is out of your mind, until you realize that there are men out there who are actually willing to be with you and be right for you and just be the good man that you need and want in your life. Yeah. And he was the good man that I needed and wanted in my life. He still is, by the way. So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah, and he really helped me. A few times I did try to go back. A few times I reached a breaking point where I would want to go back because of this obsession. It felt like it was an obsession, But eventually I really got over it. Honestly, I got over it. And I realized that all I needed to do was just find value in myself, prioritize myself, make sure that I just find the goodness that is within me and not try to find someone else to give me credit or to assure me that I'm a good person or to assure me that I'm a bright person. I just needed to do it myself. And I did that and I got over him. Yeah.
Yo, I'm grateful you got over that, because I must tell you, right from the time that we started doing this episode and you said you were 16, I was like, I felt uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable. And then when you started describing some of the things that were happening at 16, I had the same level of discomfort, which is why I kept on checking where we were age-wise.
Yeah.
Because and I'm happy we got to this point. I have a sense of relief in terms of what I think could have happened in addition to what already happened. Because when you really dig into this, I know people talk about the age of consent and when somebody becomes an adult. Legally, in a lot of countries, you become an adult at the age of 18.
Yeah.
So at the age of 18, there's a lot of stuff that you can do and the decision is really in your hands. Anything below that is an issue. For some countries, the age of consent is 16, to which they can say, okay, so if you consent to having sex, it's not considered statutory rape. Because it's the age of consent. Because that is so variable in different countries, anything below 18, for me personally, feels uncomfortable. And I'm inclined to suggest and think that this guy was actually grooming you.
Yeah.
Because when you look when you look at what grooming really is, it's when a person builds a relationship with a child, and for me, anything below the age of 18, you're a child. They may describe you as a teenager or whatever, but really you're a child / young person. So grooming is when a person builds a relationship with a young person. Let me use young person. The young person who is at risk. And you're really at risk of being taken advantage of in many ways, which is what happened with the guys who you had sex with in the first place. You were at risk of being manipulated mentally into believing that showing love is done by having sex with someone, which is something you hadn't done with your previous ex. So your mind told you this is how love is shown. So, I will do that. So you were at risk of having your mind manipulated. So when this person builds a relationship with a young person, they can then, the idea is to abuse and manipulate you into doing things. And let's think about it. He really got you into the position where he got you thinking that it's okay to be a side chick. It's okay to be, it's okay to accept that I have a wife and a family. It's okay for you to receive money from me. It's okay for you to come and stay at my place. It's okay for you to stay in this other place when we're in my main town so that I don't get caught.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And it's also not okay for you to have somebody else that you're in love with because I'm your guy and I'm going to reinforce it by the gifts I give you, the money that I spend with you, the feeling of jealousy and manipulating you to feel like, oh, I've really messed up and I need to get punished for it. And the punishment was in silence. The punishment was in avoiding taking you to Caribbean. And the punishment was also now placing the fear of death in your mind by putting a gun next to you.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as getting him to do things that he wanted, he really was on point. And then when you really dig deeper into what grooming is, the manipulative behavior is used to get the abuser to gain access to you as a victim and coerce you to agree to the abuse. So he will then say to you, I like dominating things, and then he's busy choking you and doing all sorts of things. I hate to have that visual in my head.
Yeah.
And all of this, right? And all of this that the groomer does is to reduce the risk of being caught. Because if I make all of these things okay for you and you accept them to be whatever they are, what are the chances of you wanting to make that a reportable thing to someone? Whether it's to the authorities or to his own wife or to your friends and his friends. It's going to be slim.
Mm-hmm.
And all I'm trying to say is I'm grateful you're here. because that's a really, really, really dangerous situation you were in.
Yeah, it was. If I look back at it now and really realize that this guy was he would give me I then realized that I was inflicting my father issues on him. The instructions that he gave me, I was listening to them because I never got instructions like that, and I was never told what to do by a father figure in my life. And this guy comes in, and I don't have a dad. He's old enough to be my dad. The only difference is he's posing as a boyfriend and not as a dad. And I then realized that he would give me this success motivational speeches telling me that you need to work hard, you're a bright girl. He would give me that, you can be successful, you just need to work hard enough to get that money. But now realizing that, you know what, this guy was into so many shady things, and I could have gotten caught up in some of those things.
Yeah.
But luckily I didn't, And now realizing that I looked up to someone who was into shady business deals, someone who I don't know where they got their money. I mean, I couldn't even explain how a man like that had so much properties just around and just for himself.
Yeah.
And just having just one pharmacy, not many branches around, And I realized that, and it really helped me even when I was doing my self-reflection, and I realized I do not want to be in that kind of danger. I don't want to be part of that. How are you going to walk with a gun if you don't expect yourself to be getting into dangerous situations?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I asked myself, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Who walks with who moves around with a gun strapped to their waist in Zimbabwe? So I'm like, what for? If you're not doing shady business deals, if you're not scared that someone's just going to pop you at any time. And I realized it could just be me getting mixed up into things that I do not want to get mixed up in. So besides the whole relationship emotional trauma, it was bad for me in general, in my life in general. I was going to ruin my life by staying with that guy. Anything could have happened, to be honest. And I would not want to think about any of the other things that could have happened.
You sound like you're okay, somewhat, and you have a very supportive guy. The trauma manifests its ways trauma manifests itself in ways that sometimes we don't even realize it is doing. So, besides the self-reflection that you've been doing, what other help and support have you received? Say from a professional.
To be honest, I never really got any professional help because I was always scared that if I went to a therapist, I was scared that they would tell my parents, my guardians. So really, I never really got any professional help. I'm gonna tell you the truth, I cried a lot. I cried a lot. I cried. It even got to a point where I was like, no, I can't do this life thing anymore. I got to that point. I'm not going to lie to you. I got to that point where I decided if I'm not going to be with this guy, I'm not going to be in this life. But because I met a very supportive guy who was with me through it all, yeah, I got through it. He was patient. He helped me through it. And I'm going to give all props to him because he helped me. He was there.
How long have you guys been together?
I think we've been together for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be getting to 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do this for you, and if you would rather not, if it does come to fruition, just send me a text, right? And we'll leave it alone. I'm just gonna pull out a call to all the feelers who are listening to this episode now. If you happen to be in the space that is able to give support from a psychological point of view, from a therapy point of view, from a counseling point of view, whatever support you can give to my guest, GCC, right now, I'm just doing a call out to say, please reach out to me, and with your permission, Gigi, I'll connect. Not just you, I think it might be useful to connect you and your current boyfriend together, because you're saying to me that you've been transparent in what has happened. He has had to sit down and process what some of these things might mean to your relationship. And if there are things that are happening in your life that maybe he doesn't understand, perhaps this person could also clear that up for the two of you. Because you sound like you got something good going on. So if there's something who's able to give the support, please hit me up, let me know. And with your permission, Chichi, if you want to connect with this individual, I'll get you guys connected and see if you can get any further support if there is a need.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do on a regular is see a chiropractor. Not because I need to have adjustments done to my spine, but it's part of well-being. And that way, I often find out that I had problems that I didn't know I had because my body has already put in coping mechanisms to deal with a problem. So I'm taking this as the opportunity for you to try and get that support just in case something is lingering that maybe you haven't paid attention to because you've layered with the coping mechanism that could be unhealthy, either for you or the person who's closest to you. So this is just an opportunity to say, if you can and want to take it up, I can facilitate that happening for you.
Yeah, I think that would be great, actually.
Okay. You don't have to confirm or accept it. Whilst we're doing this recording, we can pick this up offline.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm guessing that's the story wrapped up, right? It's a lot. It really is a lot. And I want to give a special thank you to you for sharing this. It really is deep. And I had no idea it was going to go this way.
Yeah, I know.
But thank you. Thank you so much. For those listening to the episode, just to give you a wrap up and roundup of the lessons. Number one, always make the right decisions no matter how hard it is. It's good for you and it's good for everyone. I almost just want to say amen to that. Because there were a lot of opportunities for you to make the right decision. And sometimes it's not very easy knowing what the right decision could be. But this one I think was fairly clear from day one, which was just saying no to a married man. Everything else becomes a series of other decisions you could have made. Number two, prioritize yourself and value yourself 100%. Because you got yourself in a situation where this guy dictated your value.
Yeah.
And he was treating you at what he felt was the point of value and giving you treatment according to what the value he presented to you on was. And then number three, allow yourself to feel the pain, the hurt, feel that breakup. Again, 100%. Because we only really start healing when we've got to the point where we accept and we choose to say, now I want to heal. Because you've allowed yourself to let everything go through your system. And last but not least, run away if you notice the red flags. Yeah, sprint, bruh. Sprint. Now that you're an adult, I think you really, really do have that opportunity to spot red flags and say, nope, this is not my cup of tea. And you have a lesson to back it up.
I do,
which is your previous experience with the narc. You guys have been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis andaro raini and chake zaini.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis andaro raini and chake zaini.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziro amai.